They're saying move, move now, move.
Right now on CBS LA at 11, a sea of protesters clash with officers on the skirmish line as demonstrations over immigration enforcement turn chaotic. And breaking at 11, a dumpster fire outside the federal building downtown.
Desmond Shaw live in SkyCal, and Des, protesters were all over this area earlier.
Yeah, they sure were, Pat and Ruta Bay. And, it seemed like things were really calming down and just about everyone had gone home. And then LAPD broke down their skirmish lines, and a bunch more protesters showed up, and they decided to ignite all of the garbage that they had thrown in this dumpster earlier this afternoon. So you see it smoldering right now. I'm not sure if we have earlier video of when it was definitely cooking quite a bit more than that. Now, one of the issues was that LA City Fire tried to respond. They claimed that the protesters were not allowing them to get in, but when we came here to the scene, we didn't see anyone that was actively trying to hamper the fire department. Still, it looks like they called for an LAPD backup, so now LAPD officers have arrived. The fire was actually extinguished with a fire extinguisher from what I believe are some of the federal officers that are actually there in front. I'm not sure if these are federal or if those are LAPD, but they went inside the dumpster with a fire extinguisher, and they managed to get the fire out. So now LAPD probably going to have to relock this area down. There was only a couple dozen protesters left of the tens of thousands that we saw earlier today. There's vulgar graffiti all over the detention center here along the walls, so I have to keep the shot kind of wide, kind of difficult to shoot all of this. So we'll see what happens now, but the fire is out, and LAPD probably going to start arresting people if they haven't already. Live in SkyCal overhead, I'm Desmond Shaw. Pat and Ruta Bay, back to you in the studio.
Desmond, thank you. The day of action brought protesters out across the nation, and in downtown LA, what was mostly a peaceful day has given way to arrests after protesters clashed with police.
CBS LA's Hunter Sowers is live downtown right now with how the demonstrations escalated. And Hunter, how are things right now?
Well, Pat, Ruta Bay, it's been a very fluid situation. I want to kind of show you another perspective of what Des was showing us earlier. We're nearby that dumpster fire. We can actually see that smoke. It's really lightened up within the last 5 minutes, but there is still a heavy law enforcement presence. We actually saw them just create a skirmish line here outside of the federal detention facility and then move their way in, as there's about 25 to 30 protesters as far as we can see in this area, but a lot of people angry. And as we see it get later and later, we just see those agitators kind of come out more and more. But this was certainly a thing that we saw all throughout the day, a theme of frustration as we saw those protesters clash with LAPD. Tonight, defiance in downtown as protesters and police clash. This all happening hours after thousands of people marched peacefully through the streets of Los Angeles, denouncing ICE and demanding change.
I think just people need to be out there. There's nothing else that's as important as this.
At one point, LAPD could be seen taking people into custody.
They're all the way up against the federal building, right on the edge there. They tear gassed the whole crowd.
Protesters initially gathered outside of the detention facility, the location people are taken after being detained by ICE, a rallying point since federal enforcement operations began.
It's sad to see, communities torn apart for political purposes.
Later, skirmish lines began forming to push people away from the detention facility.
Back up, back up.
Our cameras capturing the moments water bottles started being thrown as LAPD continued corralling people down North Alameda.
This isn't what the U.S. is for. You should not be kidnapping people on the streets, taking people away from their families.
LAPD eventually declaring a citywide tactical alert in response to the moving protest, with Mayor Bass late tonight urging calm, calling on people to protest safely.
All of our civil liberties are at stake right now. Everything's at stake.
That tactical alert has been lifted, but as you can tell, still a very active scene here outside of the detention facility. We have reached out to ask exactly how many people have been arrested tonight. We don't have an exact number, but just before our 10 o'clock live shot, we saw 2 additional people be taken into custody here outside of this specific area. But we know that these protesters have been moving all across downtown throughout the day. A lot of tear gas, a lot of those crowd dispersal measures, because of course this has been declared an unlawful assembly. But still some of those straggler protesters out here tonight. We're going to continue to watch this very closely for you and, of course, bringing those updates as we get them. We're reporting live downtown. Hunter Sowers, CBS LA.
All right, Hunter, and you stay safe down there. And we want to take another look at that skirmish line, Desmond, that you said has reformed, so to speak.
Yeah, that's right here, Pat. So here is the northbound lanes of Alameda here right off of the 101 freeway, Alameda and Aliso. So, you know, I thought it was kind of curious that LAPD, frankly, that they broke down the skirmish lines as early as they did when there were still a lot of people out here. That, you know, it wasn't very long after they left that a lot of protesters returned. And we saw what just happened with that dumpster being ignited. Now we have firefighters here making sure that that is completely extinguished and doesn't spread to anything else. So now I have to imagine that they're probably going to stay here into the overnight hours just to make sure that these folks finally disperse. I mean, some of these people have been out here since this morning. You know, we know this has been going on for a very, very long time. These are just the last of the people that are out here. It's been a very long day for protesters as well as LAPD. It might be set to go on into the weekend. Pat, back to you now in the studio.
All right. Thanks so much, Desmond.
We say
Before those clashes began, tens of thousands of protesters marched against ICE activity across Southern California and the nation.
Their message was clear: keep immigration policy and accountability in the spotlight.
This country was built by immigrants. It was shaped by immigrants, and immigrants are the reason why we are here today. And so with ICE just attacking our people, we have no choice but to stand up and take action against them.
It's just really ugly, and this isn't the world that I'm teaching my kids to be a part of. I want my son to know that their mom is teaching them to be good people.
Now, activists say there are more events planned over the weekend.